The Nottaway County Board of Supervisors meeting is now called to order. We welcome you here tonight. Mr. Bowen, will you give us the invocation, please?
Yeah, let's go to the Father. Lord, again, we thank you for this time that we can come together. And Lord, we know that you're a good God and a gracious God. And Father, you're a God who looks at justice. And Father, we just ask you to be present tonight. Father, we know that many here are hurting with losing lost ones. I talked to a lady the other day who lost a child, and Father, a grandchild, and what hardships. And so we lift those people up as well. We ask you to be with us, guide us, and we thank you most of all for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Miller, they said they were held up coming in. Wanted to know if he could sign up. Mr. Miller here.
Does he want to sign?
Yes, sir.
Let him sign.
Oh,
It's right here.
yeah, she's got it. You add his name?
Yeah.
Oh, he's right here.
Oh, okay.
Are you signing this one? Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll now have approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Approval of the minutes from March the 9th.
The 18th and the 21st of January.
18th and 21st of January.
Thank you, Ms. Katie. I'll make a motion we approve those minutes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of those dates that we named. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. We'll now have delegations from the public. We'll have Mr. William Bruce.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bill Bruce from Cumberland, Virginia. Mistakes, either those that are made by ourselves or by others, is a rough way of learning on how to do something or eventually find out a right way of doing it. Then as times change, we must learn to change again and try another method. This is why people say life is rough. To learn from others' mistakes is part of life's lessons. This is why I'm here tonight, in the hopes that your board will not make the same mistakes that Cumberland County Board of Supervisors made. Hiring a county attorney is the aspect of all government. You need one. To hire a county administrator, you need one. Lessons learned from the Board of Supervisors: do not hire one person to do both jobs. Vivian Giles was that person, has proven that one person should not do both jobs. She's proven time and time again that one person, especially her, should not do both jobs ever. She had separate spending accounts. She finally left with no turnover to the next county administrator. She left that county, our county, $500,000 in debt. She had a huge turnover of employees, sometimes within a year or every other year. She didn't use RFPs to procure contracts. Everything was just under the threshold, or given to her ex-husband or friendly contacts. Then there were those emergency construction bills that her buddies, her boyfriend, got in hundreds of thousands of dollars, which are under investigation currently. Then she has done free legal services for those Cumberland County Board of Supervisors while she served. But didn't that put the board and her at a play-to-play situation? Currently, I'm working on a roundabout problem that she and another Board of Supervisor pushed through under the nose of the people in 2017. And we are just not finding out about this proposal. It was a lie that actually was approved within 8 days of the advertising in the paper. So to build a $4 million roundabout in the isolated part of the county with less than 1,000 people, a $4 million roundabout is a beautification project for one board member who owns $8 million worth of property and his buddies to sell their land and homes in an area of less than 1,000 people.
Jesus.
That intersection that she deemed one of the worst is listed as 14th in Cumberland County alone. 14th, not number 1, not number 2. She lied on the application, saying it was one of the 100 worst. It didn't rank it. She uses FOIA as a weapon to block people, I know personally, for knowing what their government is doing. Then she gets to outsource her legal services to Sands Anderson because it's a conflict of interest, which will pop up 90% of the time. She did it in Cumberland. She left Cumberland County, remember, $500,000 in debt. Oh, why did she leave if it was such a good thing? Thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bruce, Mr. Bruce,
Yes, sir.
are you a member of the Board of Supervisors?
I've ran for a board 3 times. Yes, sir.
Did you win?
No, sir. Lost by 2 votes, 100 votes, around that time.
Okay. In what capacity did you work with Mrs. Giles?
As a citizen, I was for Mrs. Giles in the beginning. I was a strong supporter of Vivian. I was in her corner. I said, this has got to be a great thing. And learning over time, it wasn't. Those things came to fruition. That she uses FOIA, she'll hand you something, she'll tell you to pay for it. It's not what you asked for. You asked to view it, she'll mail it to you. Oh, you owe us money. That's how she operates. She knows the law. She's an attorney. And
I
every
just
time
wanted, wanted to know your capacity because I've been in and out of Cumberland for quite some time. I mean, it's 30 or 40 years, and
I've got a
I have not heard what you're talking about. I've not heard that from people at all.
I have.
The ones I've
be
talked
glad to show you any
the ones
records
I've
that I
talked
have.
to have very good things to say about Mrs. Giles.
She might be a very nice person, and I thought she was in the beginning too, but dealing with me as a citizen, and then her in her capacity, it just didn't do any good. And then when I did a referendum to put a landfill on the ballot, there again, she said it was a conflict of interest. She had to outsource it to Sands Anderson, and everything that she did was outsourced.
The landfill could not have been approved unless the Board of Supervisors did it.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So they had to do it.
Yes, sir.
She couldn't have done that.
No, sir. But what I was saying is, when I sued the board to put a referendum on the ballot, for the board to do that, she outsourced it. She didn't do it herself.
Okay.
And every time there was a legal, I'll say a stumbling block, she wasn't the one to do it.
Okay. Other board members.
Yes, sir. I've heard numerous complaints that you've spoken of. It's in the newspaper, it's all over the internet. I appreciate you coming down here confirming those reports. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion for the board to remove Vivian Giles as the county's attorney.
We're not gonna make a motion right now.
You ain't gonna tell me I can't make a motion. I'm a duly elected official. You
we-
are not gonna tell me that.
This is, I'm listening to him. You can't make a motion while I'm talking to him.
I can make a motion anytime I want to. She's paying you, y'all are paying her $325 an hour. Tell that man, can I make a motion? Thank you. I'm right, sir. I know what I'm talking
All
about.
right, go ahead and make a motion,
I just did.
okay? It died for lack of second. Thank you, sir.
Everybody pay attention, citizens. Pay attention.
Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Chairman,
Go right on.
members of the board, I just thought I'd give you a couple seconds to calm down just a little.
I like that.
I'm going to digress for just a moment. It's the first time I've heard an exchange between the board and a citizen. And I guess you have to come from another county to get that, but let me begin. The Freedom of Information Act continues to be tested in the courts. Will the lack of transparency, ongoing mistakes, and the reluctance of the board to listen to citizens take the board back to court? The board should be convinced by now that citizens are learning the process of the courts. Citizens, generally speaking, are doing this without the benefit of law degrees or lawyers. While the board has employed an entire law firm, so I ask, does that seem fair to each of you? Or could different methods, again, could different methods be used to settle these issues? I understand our county attorney is a law firm. Has to be, since the county has been billed by 2 lawyers from the same firm, one for just 36 minutes. Must have been a short consultation on a number of legal issues facing the board. Is it possible, Mr. Chairman, for you to explain why the same lawyer shows up every time, irrespective of situation, when an entire law firm has been hired? Will you? Can you explain? Some of us were led to believe that what Mr. Rourke did on October 12th, 2020 was within his level of authority because it was under $20,000. What the former administrator did wasn't sinister. If it was legal, why did the board ratify his actions and add $25,000? Did the firm Sands Anderson suggest or require that action? The budget started out around 20 grand, then moved up somewhere near 45 grand, and next year's proposed amount is in excess of $58,000. Shouldn't an increase of that magnitude require seeking bids? These actions, or the lack of them, are cause for concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Great point, sir.
Mr. Page.
Mr. Chairman, I'll answer one of the questions.
Okay.
The question of did Sands Anderson seek to ratify? I'm the one who put that motion on the floor.
Right.
I contacted some people that I know from Virginia Associated Counties, so the answer to that question is no. Mm-hmm. And legal, hiring lawyers is exempt from the procurement. I'm looking at my lawyer now. Is that correct? That's okay. Okay. And you will be with me tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But it may be another lawyer there with us tomorrow, correct? Looking forward to it. Thank you. All right?
Okay.
So got my piece.
Right. Mr. Page.
Thank you.
I don't know if that was said to scare me or something. I don't know.
I didn't even see him up there. I'm sorry. I was talking.
I'm
to the
looking forward to tomorrow myself. I'm looking forward to bringing our citizens' grievance of their government to the court and to talk about it. But that's something that I'm not here to talk about tonight. I'm here to talk about Miss Vivian Giles. She bamboozled that board in Cumberland County, and the citizens at the end of it replaced the entire board. There wasn't one board member that made it through that whole Vivian Giles debacle. And she came here and did the same thing to you. Instead of getting you to hire her directly, instead of her being county attorney and outsourcing the work to Sands Anderson for all those years, she got you to hire Sands Anderson so that she can then use her position newly acquired to get a head up on other candidates at a closed session right before it, making an offer to you before you even posted the job app, the opening. You weren't even talking, you were talking that night about creating an ad to post the opening. She comes to you before that and says, hey, I could do it for this amount of money. That's got to be unethical. If anybody else used their position to get a leg up on a new employment position, most companies wouldn't even look at employing them. And let's talk about what this gentleman said. She left their bank accounts, not $500,000 in debt, $500,000 in the negative. Cumberland County citizens have seen what's going on here, and they've reached out to me. Some of them don't want to say anything because of where they work. Some of them say it's not their fight, but you should know about it. It seems like this board, whatever the citizens don't like, that's what they go with. They go ahead and do it instead of listening to them. Everybody wants to know why. Everybody's up in arms about what's going on in Nottaway County, and it's because citizens have been telling you guys problems for years, and you do the opposite. Our crumbling buildings, our inoperable EOC, our unupdated EOP plan, and you don't do anything till disaster hits. We've been telling you these things for years. We've had FOIA problems with this board and the county administration, at least dating back to 2017. So you hire a FOIA lawyer. But I know that I studied all 644 pages, rules of civil procedure. I'm prepared for tomorrow. I really hope that you guys take a look at the merits and finally say, you know what, we made a mistake. Let's not make another one who's going to put our county in a bad position. Because since you've hired her, you've had 3 alleged closed sessions, but you've spent thousands of dollars on FOIA consultations with her. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shute.
Good evening, Chairman and Supervisors. I'm
Good
gonna take
evening.
my mask off so I can speak, because y'all not gonna be able to hear me.
Good evening, Chief.
I'm here tonight about the budget. I think I made the note there. The proposed budget, I won't say it is the budget because it's a proposed budget. I guess because of errors or whatever, my department did not get an opportunity, and here's the fire chief. I did not get an opportunity to address the budget committee or the board regarding the budget. I did talk to Mr. Bowen afterwards, and I told him I would let him know if I had any concerns. I do, so here I am. My concern is over the rescue services funding and the funding specifically for Burkeville Fire Department's Rescue Squad program. We've operated ambulance since 2002 because no one in the county would locate an ambulance in the western portion of Nottaway County. That's why there's ambulances there today. In 2002, the Board of Supervisors voted to give Burkeville Fire Department 20% of the rescue services allocation to fund that program, because at that time we served 20% of the population. And that it has existed since that time. It hasn't been changed any up until 2 years ago when y'all started allocating $20,000 to each fire department and $20,000 to the rescue squad. Well, that changed the formula. So, and it appears with your $225,000 allocation this year, and what I read in the paper, if I read it correctly, it's going to make it even worse. I calculated it out. I think that our funding would be about 8.8% of the rescue services funds. Now, Burkeville, if you look at it, before, in the last 2 years, and we didn't say anything because the last 2 years have been very difficult for our partners. Some of them were in dire straits needing money, so we didn't say anything. But we get $20,000 a year, roughly, from Nottaway County, not including the Rescue Squad Assistance Fund, to operate our ambulances. We answer over 900 calls for service a year, and we answer 30% of the ambulance calls in the county. And I know that Mr. Bowen is, we're in his district, but we serve, our first due area for our ambulance is all the way down Jennings Ordinary Road to 307 on both sides of that road, all the way back up 307 to the county line. We go out Shoot Road all the way down to Rocky Ford and then go south all the way to the county line. And I know we take in several of y'all's districts. I don't know how many specifically, but we do. And we're second due to the whole county. So, you know, since we started in 2002, we now have 4 full-time firefighter EMTs. We have 4 part-time personnel. We also have a part-time administrative assistant. I just ordered a station captain for the day shift. That is the first, I believe, career firefighter officer in Nottaway County. This stuff's incredibly expensive to us. You know, whether it was oversight, I don't know what caused it, but it appears that you reduced our funding. And you know, everybody's in the same boat. I know how everybody else feels. But, you know, right now, before the end of the year, I will have 7 full-time firefighter EMTs. Full-time. That accounts with benefits to $50,000 a person. To be able to staff Berkeley with 5 people is going to take 10 full-time people. And the reason, we have 2 active firefighter EMTs left right now that are active with the department. We have 2 volunteer EMTs that are active with the department. So to continue the service, we have to do that. And I see you're looking at the clock, and I'm sorry it's gone, Rhea, but I've never said no to anybody else, so please don't say no to me right now. In closing, I don't think first responders should have to come to you to ask for money. You should be coming to us to ask us how much money we are spending and how much funds you need to allocate to us. I appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of headache, but I think this has been overlooked. Thank you.
Can we hold, John, Chief, you mind holding up here? So we do, sound like we do have a communication gap because we talked long and intensively about the 3 fire departments and the emergency squad. So I may have to lean on Katie on this. So you're not talking about that one-time spending that we did last year. You're not even talking about that.
I'm not talking about that at all.
Okay. So you're talking about the $20,000 that we gave extra over the
Yes.
Let's call it it used to be the stickers.
Prior to year before last, for our ambulance program, we got 20% of the decal money
Right.
that was set aside for rescue services, and we got 20% of what the money used to come out of the general fund. We got 20% of that for EMS. You know, the only thing I'm saying here is we're providing all this service for $20,000. My 2 ambulances at last are depreciated out over 8 years, are $300,000 apiece. So in 24 years, the department will spend over $1 million in equipment. This makes no sense.
Well, I think, I don't think it was our intent at all to cut any, no one.
it wasn't.
And,
No funding was cut for any association.
okay, and maybe the way it's, maybe this is something that, you can come in the office and we can talk it out, John, or something?
Yeah, I'll be glad to call you
Yeah,
tomorrow and
it
explain
is,
that no agency
yeah.
was cut funding. The 3 fire departments, I included 25,000 additional in the proposed budget for additional equipment.
Okay.
The squad has additional equipment proposed, and that's what I added in
Right.
lieu of no other,
But the ambulance program for the fire department, nothing was added.
Right,
I added it
simply
for the
what?
fire department.
right.
Okay.
That's what I did and made it
Oh,
very
okay.
clear. It's the board's decision whether they choose to increase any
The
funding
fire
for emergency
departments get
services.
the same amount of money,
Right.
Okay.
but the fire departments don't provide ambulance services.
Chief Shute, what is your request for the rescue squad?
That you bring it back to.
I mean, do you have a dollar figure? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Do you have a dollar figure?
No, you can't put a dollar figure to it because the, decal.
It's a moving target.
Right.
For the
Moving target.
decals.
But we, out of the general fund money, we were getting 20% of the allocation for rescue services. Well, when you've done this.
I got you.
They did she is correct. You allocated an equal share to each of the 3 fire departments. I'm gonna have $500,000 in payroll. Are you kidding me?
Right, okay, I got you.
The board's gonna have to start considering Burkeville Rescue separate from the fire department. I mean, that's the only way.
Yeah, I
Yes,
got
yes,
you.
there's 2 entities there. Yeah, it's 2
Yeah,
entities.
we,
there.
we did,
I had a meeting with the town, either we do something with this, you know, I think we are gonna take our funds that we've set aside over the last 100-some years we've been in existence, and we're gonna fund this through, hopefully, the next 2 to 3 years.
right,
Either that, or we just quit.
got you. No,
Mr. Shute,
I'm sorry.
Well, Chief, I'll make a request tonight to add an additional $50,000 for the board's consideration to the
I
to the
just would
squad.
like to see you put our funding back the way it was and consider the difference in where we are today versus where we were.
put your funding back. I got you.
I don't want to hurt any of these other agencies. All these first responders are having great difficulty. But at the same time, it's up to you to come to us to see how much it costs to operate emergency services in Nottaway County. I should not have to come here and beg. I have been in this business for 45 years as a first responder. This is disrespectful to the first responders.
thank you, Mr. Shute.
I apologize, Mr. Chief Shute.
Okay. Ms. Yates?
Hold it like a rapper.
Good evening. My name is Sue Yates, and I come here tonight as a citizen of Nottaway County. I come here tonight because I am deeply concerned about the hiring of Vivian Giles. On February 25th, this board was asked 3 times by Supervisor Rourke if Ms. Giles had been hired by the county. Both Mr. Bowen and Mr. Vaughn stated that they did not understand or were confused by Mr. Rourke's question. At the end of this charade, Sherman Vaughn finally stated no. As time moved forward, Preston Williams was relieved of his duties, and at the next board meeting, Vivian Giles was, I guess one would say, officially hired. Or at least this is what seemed to have happened, because as time moved forward, it was discovered via a FOIA request that Vivian Giles indeed was put under contract on October 12th, 2020. This was a full 4.5 months prior to Mr. Rourke's simple question on February 25th, 2021. As a reminder, John Rourke asked, has the county hired Vivian Giles as the county attorney? He and every citizen in this room heard the resounding no. Does this mean that Mr. John Rourke and the citizens were lied to? I guess none of us really know. What I can say I noticed at this board meeting is that no one wanted to answer the question. Perhaps one of your supervisors could clarify the truthfulness of all that happened regarding Ms. Giles. Now let us all move forward to a recent meeting that I attended at Fort Pickett. Mr. Rourke was speaking to Vivian Giles directly. He asked her very politely why she was not properly corresponding with him. She was apparently sending emails to every other board member with the exception of John Rourke himself. When he would send her an email, she would respond to everyone on the board, but when another board member would send an email, she would exclude him in the response. She sat there that night with a disgustingly smug face. She even chuckled as he spoke. By her refusing to include the District 2 Supervisor, John Rourke, she takes away the voice and the obligation of this supervisor to every single citizen in District 2. How dare this be allowed? Here we are, 5.5 months after 5.5 months of all this. Citizens have been accused by Mr. Bowen of falsely asking for transparency and more. It has now come to light that Vivian Giles is asking this board to hire her as a Nottaway County Administrator and Nottaway County Attorney for a sum of $225,000 a year. She has wrongfully been included in closed sessions, closed meetings, and more, and so far as I can see, she is acting in some sort of an administrative position. I am not impressed with Ms. Giles' efforts to weasel her way into a dual relationship with this county. I am appalled this county is even entertaining this offer. Let no one here tonight forget that this county is under serious investigation by the state police. This includes an investigation that includes perjury and procurement. Now, none of us know where these investigations will lead us, but what we do know is that there are serious investigations going on. We were told that when Vivian Giles was in attendance at our BOS meetings late last year, that she was a personal friend of Ronnie Rourke's. This may and if it is, this is just another reason why this county should not be hiring someone with such conflicts of interest. I'm left to wonder just how many outside attorneys will be needed if these investigations lead to prosecutions, and that is a very real possibility. I would like to know how Vivian Giles can explain away the conflicts of interest that most definitely will occur if she is allowed to fill 2 positions. Let us think about this. 1, she is a personal friend of Ronnie Rourke. 2, she was hired as an attorney on October 12, 2020 by Mr. Rourke and was supposedly no one at the county knew. 3, we were told by Sherman Vaughn on February 25, 2021 that she had not been hired. And now she wants to be both the administrator and the attorney. I don't know about everyone else in this room tonight, but I do know that as far as I'm concerned, this arrangement and all the underhandedness that has accompanied this arrangement just doesn't pass the smell test to me. In fact, I believe that there is already room for a state bar complaint regarding some of these issues. And in closing, because of some of what I heard tonight, I would like to ask Mr. Vaughn a question. Do you think that your 30 to 40 years of friendship with Ms. Giles could stifle your judgment, or should you recuse yourself from the hiring of Ms. Giles? Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon to the board.
Good afternoon.
I think after last month when we talked about the cemetery and the water issues, I'm happy to respond that we've had great interest as we have appointed Mr. Bonacotti. He's going to be in charge of this this thing. We've got a GoFundMe page getting ready to start. But we have one problem. And my problem to this board is it legal for us to go out there and clean that cemetery? And if it's not legal, then how do we go about getting this deed?
I can't answer that right now, but I'll find out.
Okay,
It is on private property.
so on private property,
Yes.
that is where the concern comes in.
Right.
But there is a law, I don't know the law specifically, but it says that if it's the graveyard and you have people buried there, you can clean your property.
That's right.
My thing is, if and in you're paying taxes in Nottaway County, that Nottaway County is supposed to know who owns this property. But this is where our snag is at. Now, I did get somebody on Church Street named Fitzgerald, but we couldn't come up to nothing about that because we didn't have time. So that's where we at. But we're taking on this project. We need the county to help us. I mean, 'cause after all, this is it. This property is in the county. We're not coming up here raising no cane, nothing like that. We just want it taken care of. And I'm gonna pursue taking care of it, regardless of what it takes. Okay, my second issue, this water thing. I received, President Biden has got this infrastructure going on.
I will be making a statement on the water thing very shortly.
Okay, that's fine too. But in this infrastructure thing, there is, rural water and broadband are very hard, are very tough. These are the issues, these are after. Where we are now is rural water. Understand what I'm saying? So, if anybody needs a copy of this printout, I will show it to you. I know I'm not saying you guys can't read, don't get me wrong. Okay? And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, anyone else from the delegation? Anyone else to speak? Okay. We don't have a public hearing tonight, do we?
No, sir.
Presentation. Mr. Crockett, will you come forward, please?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good evening.
So my name is Robert Crockett. I work for Advance. We represent the Rural Solar Development Coalition. And someone asked me to come tonight to talk to you about some of the revenue opportunities that solar might present. So in your packet, you have a presentation. So I'm going to take you through that tonight. And hopefully provide some examples at the end of this presentation, take any questions that you have. But I'm going to limit my presentation remarks to the revenue opportunities that we discussed in the General Assembly both in 2020 and 2021. Okay? So real quickly, the foundation for the rural solar activity, or the utility scale solar activity, is the Clean Economy Act, which was approved by the General Assembly in 2019. It requires 10,000 megawatts of solar over a 10-year period. In physical terms, it's about 300 square miles of utility square solar in Virginia over the next 10 years. It's a lot of solar. So what happened was there was an effort to sort of develop legislation to make sure that the counties had the opportunity and localities had the opportunity to look at the solar development as a revenue stream. And so that was the beginning, and that occurred in 2020. So I'll take you a little bit through that. And that focused on revenues legislation, the solar siting bill, which is significant, which I'll take you through that. And then we worked in the off-season to negotiate even further refinements to the 2020 legislation, which enhanced the ability for counties to become whole with respect to solar development. And that was really the effort in 2020, 2021, which was really to make the effort for counties that decided to develop their property, their land with solar, to make them whole. So we did the following. We looked at indexing the revenue share. Indexing means you get a percentage increase per year if you decide to assess a revenue share with respect to solar. We opened the revenue share opportunities to battery and energy storage systems in addition to solar. And then we expanded the siting agreements to include both energy and battery storage. And we removed a restrictive clause in the siting agreement that restricted siting agreements to opportunity zone areas. And again, all that was in 2021 General Assembly to make sure that the counties were whole. So I'm going to take you through a couple of those. So I'm on House Bill 2269, if you take a look.
Yeah, okay.
So this is an initiative of the rural counties that we represent, and essentially it was allow the localities to increase revenue share by 10% beginning in July 1, 2026, and then increase 10% every 5 years thereafter. It continues the tax exemption for 5 megawatt projects and under, meaning that revenue share, if a project, a small scale solar, is under 5, you're exempt from that. We also included the revenue share for battery storage, as I mentioned. This became law and will become law on July 1. This next bill I want to take you through is House Bill 206 with a companion bill, and basically it does the following. It declares that energy battery facilities are certified pollution control equipment and exempt from local taxation. However, it includes the same language allowing localities to charge or increase revenue share by 10% beginning on 7/1/26. And again, similar language, the 5 megawatt exemption exists, and that's also been approved by the governor. And then I'll mention House Bill 2201 and companion Senate Bill 1207, and that's the siting agreement, and that allows amended the existing agreement, existing language that would expand provisions to execute siting agreements for solar and battery storage in all areas of the county, removing the opportunity zone restriction. Again, that became law as well, or will become law on July 1. I want to speak to the siting agreement for a second because that is proving to be a really significant benefit for rural counties on large-scale solar utility projects. So what a siting agreement done, it's not too dissimilar from a siting agreement for a landfill facility. Some of you may be familiar with that. It creates opportunities to include specific terms and conditions. It could mitigate impacts of proposed solar battery storage. You're able to request certain financial compensation from the developers for host locality to address needs in your CIP, your capital improvement plan. It also has opportunities for annual indexing, which have been included, to my knowledge, in all of the siting agreements that have been executed so far. Mention a couple things real quickly before I go through some examples. Senate Bill 1258, again, for those smaller communities that don't have the ability to look at E&S and stormwater, there was a bill this year to allow localities to opt out, to allow DEQ to manage that environment review E&S control plan, and so we'll see it. And just as a matter of perspective, in terms of Virginia, and I put this as a qualifier in here, DEQ has told me they're looking at about 36 new solar projects in 2021, all of which will require E&S and stormwater activity. So I won't go through the foundational legislation. Those are the big bills that were passed in 2020 that I just went through. I will take you, if you can go all the way to where the host agreement examples are, let me take you through those because I think that really shows you the opportunities that localities have on very large-scale solar projects. And so I've given you some examples here, and these are the counties that have executed with developers host agreements or siting agreements. So a couple, and I've got 4 of them in here. So in Sussex, there was a 75 megawatt solar project. They received $4.2 million for broadband development. It's indexed 2% annual, so that foundational amount was indexed at 2% for 35 years. Received $250,000 for emergency vehicles, new equipment in underserved areas. They decided to use the M&T tool and not the revenue share. And it's the only county I know of that hasn't gone to the revenue share, by the way. So the total package for a 75 meg project over the life of the project is right about $10 million. So in Richmond County, 127 megawatt project. Richmond County, just for make sure you know where that is, it's on the northern neck. So upfront payment from the developer was $1.65 million. And there is a new EMS facility that they committed money to serve in an underserved area. Renovation of an existing volunteer fire department, and that was $125K, and then a new communications tower, again, to serve an underserved area of the county, and then also enhanced 9/11 communications. Interestingly, Richmond did their funding, partial funding for pedestrian trails to connect some disconnected county properties. which was a really unique way to make, again, it's really a benefit to the citizens. The total package, again, right about $9.8 million for a 127 meg facility. And then you've got King and Queen, which again is in the Mid-Peninsula, Virginia. It was a very large project, 149 megawatt. Voluntary broadband payments of $4 million, other voluntary payments for new water tanks, telehealth opportunities, and telework opportunities in areas that just don't have a lot of broadband opportunities. 3.4 million. Total package is right about 19 million over the life of the 35-year project. And then the most recent project, again, a very large project, 167 million, upfront payment of $1 million, and then the revenue share payments over the life of the project are right about $8 million, and then indexed at 1.75% over the life of the project. So the total package is about 50 million. And I reference this only because it gives you counties an opportunity to do things that are unique, different, provide real value to your community in ways that really don't exist anywhere else. And so that's the benefit we think of this same agreement. So just a couple things as the Rural Solar Development Coalition. We've got 15, 16 counties, I think now. In the off season, we're going to try to remove that 5 megawatt exemption down to 1 megawatt. Less than 1 megawatt. We'll work on make sure that we look at the depreciation schedule. Again, the SEC, we'll work with the SEC on a new depreciation schedule that extended depreciation for solar equipment to 35 years. And then also working to make sure that we can refine a decommissioning bonding language to make sure that these facilities are taken care of at the end of the life cycle for the project itself. So again, I didn't want to spend too much time or focus on revenue opportunities tonight. Any questions? So again, appreciate your time. Okay. I am not a lawyer, by the way.
Question?
Mr. Crockett, we're very, I am, I don't know the rest of the board, but I'm very content being part of the coalition. But, you know, I've been talking to some of these other board members, King and Queen, Richmond County, Charlotte County, Sussex, know a guy, talked to him today. But anyhow, you know, a lot of them, you know, a lot of people like, they're looking at these solar panels as like, okay, man, this money's coming in here, and this is going to build, and this is going to give more to the fire departments, to the schools, and I get that. But I love my agriculture district. I just love it. I mean, you know, I'm a tobacco farmer in the blood. Well, I don't like working on a tobacco farm, but it was nice looking at it. But anyway, I'm concerned about the decommissioning of it. You know, you get a big solar farm, and somebody outside from California comes here, buys up a bunch of land, builds it, do their thing, and then they move on. You know, they go to Alaska, whatever, and then we're stuck out there with a bunch of panels that are broke and fall on the ground, and batteries, you know, leaking acid, whatever. That's the part that I really, if being on part of this coalition, I wish you, on these house bills, if you could concentrate on that some. But and you probably already have, but I'm.
Yeah, so Mr. Bowe, we're actually working on that this summer to make sure that we can refine the language just a bit. Again, surety bonding is the cleanest way to go.
Okay.
Right? And so we've had a lot of conversations. We talk amongst ourselves every month, but earnestly trying to develop really consistent language for the rural counties to be able to use, because that's really critical. What you don't want to do is have this in your lap 30 years from now.
Right.
And so we all understand that, and I think our counties understand that, and you understand that. So it's to make sure that we give you guidance as best we can to make sure that you're taken care of, because you don't want to leave it. We're not going to be here in 35 years.
Right, that's right.
You don't want to leave whoever's next.
Yeah, the next generations. That's what we're trying to do is leave something for the next generation.
I will share my perspective. I come from the forest products industry as well, so we've had a lot of conversations about the use of land. 300 square miles in Virginia for solar is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of land.
And it's going to go primarily on ag and forestry.
Right, I know. That's what. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Not solar.
What about broadband?
So again, these provide an opportunity for revenue in a way that particularly the siting agreement or the host agreement, what we have seen, the rural counties are challenged with respect to internet and broadband. So what you're finding is they're using tools that you have available to develop broadband again in underserved areas. And we've seen that in every county, in rural county that's executed a siting agreement so far. So that gives you a clear opportunity to do that. And again, this is the opportunity you have as you look towards projects, and again, I don't know what's in your county, but as you look towards projects, think about those things.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Bryant.
I thought you left. You stayed here.
I am going to do my report. I wanted to address chairman, members of the board again. It's been quite a while since I've been here in person, but I wanted to update you a little bit on some of the things we've got going on in the county. I know the debris removal is front and center for a lot of people. Nottaway was hit pretty hard, and several of our counties in the district were hit pretty hard. And what they're currently doing right now is they're cutting down the hangers and the leaners and stuff like that, and then the debris removal contractor will come behind them to pick up the debris. That's why you see a contractor going out there and cutting, and then they leave and there's still debris there. It's a two-phase operation, so just wanted to update you on that. So that is still ongoing. I don't know if you all have noticed, but there's a failed pipe under 723, and we have a contractor that's out there, and they're actually jacking a new pipe under 723 because the old one has actually separated.
Oh, okay.
So there's a new one that's going to be jacked under there, and then the old one will be filled with flowable fill. And we're expecting that to be finished next week. We actually had a fixed completion date of May 7th, but I think the contractor's going to get done pretty early. So, and we also earlier in the month had a spring cleanup initiative where our mowing contractor actually came out and cleaned up all of the primary roads and the high volume secondaries. So we were able to get a lot of litter picked up in the county. We also, the Route 307 was closed for a couple of days for safety reasons for the debris contractor, and we took advantage of the closure and fixed some potholes as well.
Oh, well.
So, but that's all done now, and the Route 618 bridge, they've gotten the old bridge removed, and they are getting ready to put in the drilled shafts for both abutments. So that'll be happening over the next couple of weeks, so it's currently on schedule right now, so. But that's all of the additional update that I had over what was in your packet. So, did you all have anything for me or any questions?
I had one. Melody Lane, is there anything else that you can tell me about Melody Lane? Remember the email I sent you?
Yeah, we did. We talked extensively with our track engineering section, and we have looked at Melody Lane several times in the past, and it just doesn't appear that there's a whole lot additional that we can do. The stop sign that you talked about, I think I responded to that.
You
and we
did.
don't actually, will put a stop sign up to control speed, so, but our residency safety officer, he actually went out and looked at it and made his recommendations, and then it's gone to the district now, and the district is a little bit behind with studies, but I'm not sure that it's gonna produce the results that you want, but they are looking into it. And the comparison that you made as well with the other road, I don't remember right off the top of my head, but it's completely different in that aspect. So it's not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
That one intersection is completely different, so. But as soon as we get that back, I will provide that to you and the board, so.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Chair?
Ms. Shackleton,
Oh.
you have anything for her? Okay.
I just wanted to personally thank Nottaway's VDOT workers for their efforts during the storm. Even though there was debris in the road, most of the roads absolutely had at least one lane open that was passable even at the height of the tree limbs coming down. And they did, I think personally, a remarkable job at keeping at least one lane of all roads open the majority of the time. Thank you.
I will pass that along, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Steve.
Donna, this is just a curiosity question. So, you know, it's always a judgment call because people see a tree leaning out. They say, Steve, get VDOT to cut that tree down. And, you know, because they think it's going to crawl across the road. And I get it, you know, it's leaning like, but it's picking up the debris on the side of the road and a tree leaning. Does the tree have to be dead? So I don't keep calling you for things. What is it's a judgment call? Is that, I mean, I don't know. I just, you know.
We actually have an emergency contractor that will come out for dead or leaning trees.
Okay.
That are dangerous trees, and
Okay.
and they'll look at it, and if it's determined that it is going to be an impending emergency,
Okay.
we will take it down. But some of those trees that are leaning have been leaning for a long
20
time.
years maybe. I know.
And some people just they fear those, but we will go out and evaluate it, and if it's dangerous.
I got you. But most of them are leaning towards sunlight, and that's what they're doing because of the road, you know. But I get it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
From the board. Thank you, Ms. Bryan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll need a motion to entertain a public hearing for the May meeting. I need a motion. We did it by common consent during the work session, but it needs to be done here.
for the 6-year plan?
6-year
Yeah,
plan.
Yeah, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded that we have a public hearing at the May meeting. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Procyse?
Yes, sir. We don't have any report from the school board. From the health department, we do have some news that came out in a public press release today. The Virginia Department of Health and the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, in partnership with the Virginia National Guard, will open a community vaccination clinic in Nottaway April 19th to administer COVID-19 vaccinations at the Virginia National Guard Armory in Blackstone. This vaccination clinic is sponsored by the Piedmont Health District. It'll operate 4 days a week and will administer up to 250 doses per day. All of the events are by appointment only, and no walk-ins will be accepted. Virginia Army and Air National Guard medics have been trained and certified by the Virginia Department of Health, and they'll administer the vaccines. And additional soldiers will provide wrap-up logistics, administrative, and traffic management support. So that will be in addition to the other sites that are offering vaccinations. That's a good thing. I don't have a Piedmont Regional Jail report to give you. For a landfill report, the landfill report is in your package. The landfill averaged 57.72 tons per day, and the leachate totals are in your package too. Just as a little bit of information, Ms. Presley has calculated the fees for the ice storm. As you remember, the county waived the landfill fees during the storm. That was approximately $11,000. Our landfill scale was down for a few days for repair, and that was due to mud that flows from the unpaved area between the equipment shed and the scales. The scale is back up and working now. This problem has been with us for a while, and that's why we suggested adding funding in the new budget to pave over that space so it won't happen again, hopefully. If the budget request is adopted, the paving will be done sometimes in the next fiscal year. I mentioned to you all several weeks ago that our best loader at the landfill needs a complete undercarriage replacement. We received 3 bids, which are in your package, and I need for you to approve the low bid from Carter Machinery, which is $34,505.75.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the low bid from Carter Machinery for $34,505.75 for the needed repairs at the county landfill.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the package for Carter Machinery for the price of $34,505.75. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, we worried with the better machine, the newer machine being out of commission, and it's still out of action as of today, that our older loader was going to have to be used, and unfortunately, it's had a broken segment on its drive sprocket. In addition to this, the undercarriage is also beginning to show a lot of wear on the older machine. Now, we don't know yet if that older machine needs a complete undercarriage replacement, but if it does, it will likely cost about the same as the newer machine. Someone is coming out from Caterpillar to look at the machine tomorrow. So they'll tell us if it's a fairly simple repair or if it's going to be a major repair like the newer machine had. Now, do you all wish to authorize any necessary repairs for the older machine, or whatever needs to be done, because we do need a backup machine.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like the yin yang is out of line with the manipulator. Is that correct?
I'm sorry? You'll have to ask Mr. Easter about the yin yang, but the fact of the matter is we were worried about the older machine, using the older machine when the newer machine was out of commission, and sure enough, that's what happened.
What's your pleasure?
I will let you all know when we find out from CAT how much it's going to be. But just be aware that it could be not too much, or it could be as much as what the newer machine had to pay.
It's needed to continue to service, though, correct?
It is, and you need a backup machine because that's the only way you can operate the landfill, is to have a loader. That's the only way, so that's why we have two loaders.
Well, let us know, and
I will. Okay. If no other questions, under the Nottaway County Planning Commission, Mac Dews, a Planning Commission member since December of 2015, died this last March 18th. Mr. Dews was an excellent member of the Planning Commission. He was a pleasure to work with, and he was a very wise man. He was a good member. He will be missed. Mr. Rourke may wish to confer with the crew mayor to find a new member from the crew, from the town of Crewe. The Planning Commission did not meet for its regular meeting this month, but Monday night, the Planning Commission's Comprehensive Plan Committee will meet with the Commonwealth Regional Council staff to continue working on the Comprehensive Plan revision. So that's well underway.
Mr. Rourke, will you give us a report at the next meeting?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
The building inspector and the E&S report is in your package, if there are no questions about that. Animal control report is in your package. The ad for the vacant position is also in your package so that you can see what that looks like. As of I think today, I think we've only had one application to be turned in, but it's going to be in the paper, this week's paper, so hopefully we'll get some more applications. Under unfinished business, last night you all attended a very good discussion, I think, on the Sandy River resolution. It was good attendance by the towns. You have in front of you the amended resolution that was distributed last evening and that you all discussed. And that's what, if you make any decision tonight, you'll be making it on that amended resolution that you have.
I believe all three of the towns wanted this resolution approved. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I hadn't heard anything different from the town of Crewe either today. So I believe they all stand with the amended resolution.
From Burkeville. Is Burkeville the same?
Mr. Vaughn, we approved the resolution Tuesday night.
Right. That's right.
And I also sent a letter to
Okay.
Chairman Administrator Daniel.
Okay. Chair will now entertain a motion to approve or disapprove the resolution.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the resolution granting support to Prince Edward County's proposal to explore the concept of a mutually beneficial regional public water system the amended version.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amended version. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, the next piece of unfinished business is the cell tower request. This was a special exception request for a new tower, a new cell tower off of McCune Road that we heard back in January. At that time, you asked that an AT&T representative be questioned about the need for the proposed tower. In order to remind everyone the points made by the supporters of the request for the new tower and the opponents of the new tower, we've asked Lisa Murphy and Ed Donahue here to briefly go over the issues they brought to your attention at the original hearing. After that, we have Sandy Beaulieu with AT&T to answer any questions you have from that company, and that's what you all had asked us to do. So we do have Ms. Murphy here, and we do have Mr. Donahue here.
Will you all come forward, please? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And members of the Board of Supervisors, again, for the record, my name is Lisa Murphy. I don't know, can you hear me through the mask, okay?
Yes.
All right, I'll try not to shout. I'm gonna go ahead and hand these out to you. These are, items that were actually in the application package, but I'm gonna highlight
Thank you, ma'am.
just a few of these and thought it would be helpful.
Thank you.
As Mr. Procyse indicated, we are back again tonight because you had asked us for some follow-up questions. The proposed tower that you have before you, just to reorient everybody, the application is for a special exception by Tillman Infrastructure. The property is zoned A1 and is 52 acres, and pursuant to your zoning ordinance, a tower is allowed on an A1 zone property with a special exception. So we are requesting a special exception. In addition, as Mr. Procyse mentioned at the Planning Commission hearing, we were requesting a determination that the location was in substantial accord with your comprehensive plan. So the factors to be considered, if you look at your zoning ordinance, section 4-13-8, factors to consider among many other factors includes the availability of suitable existing structures. And based on our last meeting, there was no opposition to the tower, or the aesthetics of the tower from the community at large. The opposition, as you know, was from the competing tower owner literally across on the other side of the street. So as we look at your zoning ordinance, the question of suitable existing towers, your ordinance goes on to say, it details how the applicant can demonstrate the reasonable satisfaction of the board that there are no existing towers that can accommodate. So the ordinance doesn't say you have to prove there isn't another tower. It gives us some factors that we can demonstrate to satisfy the need for the tower. One of those is the existing tower is not of sufficient height to meet the carrier's demands and needs, and in this case, that's AT&T. So what you have before you is a letter that was Exhibit E in the application packet from a professional engineer for AT&T, specifically saying that AT&T is requesting a minimum height now of 257 feet in order to achieve network objectives. What SBA has told you is that in 2006, when AT&T had the predecessor build the tower, that was sufficient in 2006. Well, I don't know how many of you had iPhones or iPads or phones that you could watch video on or watch YouTube or watch the internet on in 2006, but as you know, 15 years later, there's demand has grown exponentially. So what may have been sufficient 15 years ago is no longer sufficient, and that's what this letter demonstrates. The next question is, or one of the other issues or factors that can be considered, and this is also to be considered under the state law, is whether the fees and costs or contractual provisions required by the owner of the existing structure are unreasonable. And so what you have before you is a sworn statement of Tim Brenner, who is a network planning director for AT&T Wireless. And this was Exhibit J in the application package, which I think some of you had read because you asked us last time to bring somebody more local to the meeting. But if you look at this letter, he speaks specifically to the SBA tower in question, indicates that this tower has become a high-cost antenna structure for AT&T. And then if you look at, most importantly, in number 7, and surprisingly, the current rent charged by SBA to co-locate on the SBA tower is over 2 times what Tillman, who's the applicant for this replacement tower, will charge AT&T. So he estimates that if the current rate increases over the next 20 years, the difference in rent paid by AT&T just to stay on the SBA tower the way it is now, without making any equipment changes, without making any extension to that tower, would be well over $1 million. And that is why AT&T at a nationwide level has reached out to Tillman to help identify alternatives for these towers that SBA operates that have just become unreasonable from a cost standpoint, but also from a contractual standpoint, as I think Ms. Ballou might tell you if you asked her, in order to make modifications both to the antennas on the tower and any, let's say you were to modify it structurally, those costs would be passed on to AT&T. So you've got a cost structure that's unreasonable just if it keeps paying the basic rent, and then you've got the additional cost that would be put on top of that to do modifications. So what do you need equipment modifications for? Well, I believe it was the Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department gentleman was talking about issues. The Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department is part of this FirstNet program, and FirstNet is a nationwide system that Congress enacted in 2012 that was meant to get high-speed broadband internet just to emergency services providers. So if AT&T were able to make modifications to this tower without having to keep paying additional rent, one of the things they would be able to do would be to add their FirstNet services to this tower. Any modifications, so I understand the tower had some modifications back in 2018. Those were incorporated in an amendment to the lease that required the additional payment of rent. So every time AT&T goes to modify equipment on this existing tower, the SBA tower, they have to pay more money. So again, you've got $1 million differential over 20 years, not even taking into account that to upgrade the antennas to get better service for both the first responders and for citizens, even looking for fixed wireless broadband, that all of that would continue to cost AT&T. What that means for the citizens is, the budget for AT&T isn't unlimited. They look at their network, they look at where they have issues just like any other service provider, and they're able to invest more in their network where they're able to achieve cost savings over their leases. So with that, as Mr. Prosai said, he had asked us, and you had asked us to bring AT&T in and somebody local so that you could ask them the questions that you had asked of us. We respectfully request that you approve this tower. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I mentioned the 2006, what everybody was doing with internet 2006. I went back and looked at the numbers. In 2006, the percentage of Americans that were wireless only at home was just under 16%. By this last June to December of 2020, that number was almost 70%. So you can see just the exponential growth. I mean, millennials don't have cell phones. If you do the breakdown by millennials, by whether or not there are children in the home, the number of wireless only goes even higher. So this is part of technology, and it is a benefit to the citizens for AT&T to be able to move to the lower cost tower to be able to provide better services. Like I said, I'm happy to answer questions. We've got AT&T here as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for?
Lynn?
Chairman, may I ask?
Yes, go right ahead.
Ms. Murphy and I had the opportunity to speak earlier today, and if you don't mind, I'll reiterate a couple of things that we've talked about. So this particular tower in question will be located less than 0.2 of a mile from the existing tower, and has Tillman identified another existing site near Burkeville for a tower that would be less than 0.5 mile from the existing tower? Is that correct?
Tillman is looking for other sites within the county, yeah.
Okay.
And throughout Virginia, frankly. It's part of this national program they have with AT&T,
Great.
as well as with Verizon.
Right. And at this point, you've not had any discussions with Verizon, and do we know whether they're dissatisfied with the current SBA tower?
So as I mentioned, Verizon has the same relationship with Tillman where they're looking for ways to reduce costs. Each lease is going to be a little bit different. So Tillman has reached out to Verizon. They haven't made a determination. They're looking at budget and other things. It may possibly be that their lease continues for a few more years. So it wouldn't be until they hit a renewal point that they can terminate and move to the new tower.
And because your proposed tower would exceed the county's current height limit, you would have to have lighting on that tower, correct?
And we've requested an exception to the height, yeah. So there's a tower that you can see on 460 coming towards the courthouse. It would be very similar in that it would be white during the day and red at night.
Okay. This one, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how do you respond to the statement that Tillman's business model is to target companies like SBA and build redundant towers in extremely close proximity to existing infrastructure with a promise of cost savings passed along to subscribers? Do you agree with that, or?
So, well, let me talk about that, and this is something that has come up in many jurisdictions, so you all are not the first. And Tillman's business plan is to work with the wireless carriers, specifically AT&T in this case, and also Verizon, to help them reduce their infrastructure costs. So the carriers identified infrastructure costs as one of their highest expense items. So, you know, just like if I were in a house where the rent was too much and I wanted to shift money around in my budget so that I could send my child to a special summer program that cost me $1,000, I'd be looking to reduce my rent costs or reduce my other budget costs. So this is something that it's no secret the national carriers are doing on a national level. Tillman is just working directly with the carriers to help find additional locations where they could build a tower so there can be competition. I mean, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was entirely meant to promote competition. You don't have to, you know, there's not one wireless carrier in the jurisdiction, and everybody has to use that same wireless carrier. There was no intent for tower companies to have a monopoly in a particular area. So competition, as it is throughout our economy, is best, and it's good for the carriers, but that savings gets passed on to the consumers as well. So, and the upgrades to the equipment cost a tremendous amount of money. So in order to invest in those equipment upgrades, they have to reduce costs elsewhere.
But per our conversation earlier, in this case, the savings AT&T would experience would not likely, local subscribers wouldn't see those savings typically.
It would give them more money in the market to be able to invest in other places. So you would see that benefit, and you would also see them investing in equipment upgrades because they know it's not going to cost them additional money to upgrade the equipment at this location. Okay. So you will see the benefit.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, sir. You guys are actually putting this, because due west of 566 McCune Road, that's my house. Okay. My neighbors were not aware of this. I've talked to several neighbors on McCune Road today because I had a conversation with the chairman the other night, and I said that to this point nobody had any concerns or for or against it, and that concerned me a little bit, so I made some phone calls. One gentleman that lives on the road said he saw it in the paper, but nobody on the road had gotten notices. I spoke with the Knight family. I still have to speak with the Harris family, the Hayes family, but all the ones that I spoke with today had not been made aware of this. So how long before the new tower becomes outdated? Because this last one lasted 15 years.
Well, so it's not the tower itself becoming outdated, it's the equipment that you can put on it, and it's the height of the equipment that you can put on it. So I don't know that you could say that the tower would become outdated. I think at that height, you'd be able to satisfy not only AT&T, but any other carriers.
Okay, and like Ms. Shelton was talking about, I mean, honestly, the savings are not passed on to the customers because no bills are lowered. In order for the layman's term person to go out here and understand it, it almost has to be sit down and have a conversation with and say, look, they're going to continue to build infrastructure, so you won't see a raise for that, but just to get the elephant out the room, they're not going to see any savings on their bills.
Bills wouldn't go down, but the ability to better provide the service is going to increase. So if they're not overpaying for, and again, AT&T's here, so I don't want to put words in their mouth, but if they're not overpaying for a particular site, then they're able to invest that money in the equipment upgrades and hopefully getting FirstNet on that tower.
Okay, and if you've had any experience with this, this next question, if not, no problem. But what happens to unused towers?
Okay, so under your zoning ordinance, just like most of the other zoning ordinances in the Commonwealth, if a tower is not used for a period of 24 months, it would come down. So you wouldn't have a situation typically where you have two towers for very long.
Okay, and the only last thing I have here is, what is the best long-term solutions for Nottaway County citizens? Well, I'm talking broadband options, reception. What is the best solution here moving forward?
Well, I think it'll be probably a combination of some fixed wireless, which obviously this will help on the wireless side, but then you'll have local broadband, and I'm actually working with some broadband groups that are actually going to the electric co-ops, because the electric co-ops are getting funding for broadband, so they'll be doing fiber,
We actually got some else to talk about here, and I got us in there.
They'll be doing fiber in the ground broadband as well. So in the more rural jurisdictions, it's probably going to be a combination of the two.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. We have Mr. Sandy.
No, Mr. Donahue is here, Mr. Chairman, to speak before Ms. Ballou.
Okay.
Mr. Ed Donahue.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Ed Donahue. I was good here before you in January.
Good evening.
When we were talking about this. Good evening, Mr. Rourke. A couple things, and I'll keep my remarks brief. We've gone through this now a couple times, and I know that we've sent you papers, and I sent you copies of what I'd sent previously. And in February, we addressed the question of the redundant tower, and that's really what this is. And I appreciate Mr. Murphy's candor about that, because it's really what it is. It isn't about height, because we addressed that. SBA has said that the height of 199 feet, which by the way is not lit because it's under the 200-foot limit, a height of 199 feet could be extended, both structurally and logistically. It could be done so that we still have the one tower on McCune Road. The issue of FirstNet and 5G hasn't been broached because AT&T hadn't contacted SBA about doing that upgrade at the tower. I'm going to say that again. They haven't contacted the landlord about doing FirstNet on the very tower that we're talking about here. So that can be accommodated, and I gave you that letter back in January from SBA that said that should AT&T want to do FirstNet, 5G, or any other upgrades, they certainly could do that. So those things have been addressed. The question really is, it's a rent question. So AT&T has said that the rent that they're paying now, some 15 years later, on the SBA tower is about twice what Tillman is offering right now in year one. It reminds me, I just renewed the lease on my office, and after the escalation kicked in over many 5 years, I was way over market. Well, that's shame on me. AT&T has a master license agreement, an MLA, with all of the tower providers, including SBA. They have a master license agreement covering thousands of sites over the country. So they need to negotiate that with the tower companies in order to address where they see outliers like this one. Let's get back to what this is. This is a land use decision. The board is being asked to consider a special exception for a redundant tower. I submit that the policies of co-location, which the state embraces, which the county embraces, which you have on McKeon Road with the SBA tower, ought to take precedence over AT&T's rent dispute with SBA. When I watch the Super Bowl, the AT&T commercials run often. Apparently, they got enough money for Super Bowl commercials. And let's be candid. When Ms. Murphy was asked whether there was going to be rent savings passed along to Nottaway residents, she had to be honest and said no. That's not going to be the case. Maybe it's going to save AT&T some money on a particular site, but it's not going to be a cost savings on your wireless bill. You're going to have 2 towers here, and perhaps the other tower that we addressed, was it Crew or Blackstone?
Burkeville. Burkeville.
Yeah. There are 3 towers that are, I think they're in Tillman sites. You're going to have duplicate towers, the twin tower effect, as is proposed on McKeon Road. That's what you're being asked to consider. It's as simple as that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rourke?
I just want a clarification. It sounds like what you're saying is that it's cheaper for AT&T to sign a new lease and get someone to build another tower than it is to stay with the current rent. Is that kind of the reason why you believe they have not reached out to SBA to extend the tower?
Ms. Boileau can address that. I'm not sure why AT&T hasn't contacted them. FirstNet's not going on every tower. We know that. Some sites make sense for that network, some don't. 5G is being deployed on all new sites, but they're not backfilling on all the sites that they have. It's a big, big project, a big, big rollout. As to what it would cost, what I'm saying is, as a land use consideration, I say do what needs to be done to the SBA tower. If height is necessary, let's increase the height. If it's structural upgrades, be it on the equipment or on the legs or on the coax or whatever else it is, let's do it on the SBA tower and have 1 tower in your neighborhood as opposed to 2. And that second one's going to be lit. If you think you can see it now, you're sure going to see it when it's blinking in red.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
No question for Mr. Tips. No
Thank
questions.
you. Thank you.
Mr. Donahue, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Ballou is here from AT&T.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to answer your question. Very good.
May I?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I guess let's go ahead and get the elephant out the room. Why haven't y'all reached out to SBA to ask them to extend that current tower?
Well, our current MLA with SBA has been under negotiation for several years, renegotiation.
Okay.
And because of that, markets across the country have an exception process where we would not, unless it was an extenuating circumstance, we would not pursue a lease or an amendment with SBA. So the rollout of large-scale programs like FirstNet and 5G, those get placed on hold until we get to a better partnership with SBA. And that's been several years now. So in this case, we wouldn't have reached out to them because we don't have the proper, I guess, exception rules to push that through. And until we have a new MLA, which could happen in the next year, I don't know.
Right. Well, if the new MLA gets in place, is this second tower not a consideration at that point?
How do you mean?
In other words, if you get a new MLA in place for SBA, would you go to them and ask them to extend it, or would you still be looking to move forward with the new tower?
We would, it depends on timing. So ideally, we are hoping to bring, new technologies to these towers, this tower in particular, sooner rather than later. And Tillman gives us that opportunity to do it.
I can't say when the SBA negotiations will be complete, and we are in a nationwide high rent relocation program. That's what this is part of. So when we are shifting our all of this focus on hundreds of projects to move to towers that make a better business model for us, a better partnership on the long term, then once we've moved off that SBA tower, we wouldn't be pursuing, we wouldn't have a need to go back on that tower. We would stay with Tillman.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it kind of brings up one more. Essentially, what if we needed to go to 300 feet and the new MLA with Tillman was held up? Which are we looking to put a 300-foot tower up with someone else? I'm trying to avoid a graveyard of towers.
I appreciate that aesthetically, and it's just a concern for many communities. So if I understanding your question, if we needed additional height and we had already moved to the Tillman Tower, we would work with Tillman to do a tower extension. First, yes. I mean, any good business model and a good partnership that we have with many other tower companies, not just Tillman, that would be our first step, would go to them and say, can we increase the height to get more coverage for our customers? And then that would have been the situation with SBA if we were in a partnership with them.
Right, it just sounds like that y'all may be kind of at an impasse and it's holding up progress. Is that kind of what it sounds like?
Yeah, several years into it,
Okay.
and so much so that we've, like I said, we've rolled out this program, and it's not just targeting SBA. I mean, there are other tower companies where we have a business relationship with them, and we do have a strong MLA, but we're stuck in a lease that's old school terms, and we see an opportunity to move to another tower, to build another tower, or to co-locate on something that is existing. So
Okay.
it's not just every time we see an opportunity that's high rent,
Right.
we go to a raw land new build. We could find another co-location opportunity and then vacate when our lease terms are up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. Did AT&T contract with SBA to upgrade the tower equipment in 2018?
We did. We did an amendment, a lease amendment at that time.
Okay. You mentioned being stuck in the lease. Do you have I don't know the term for it, an exit clause in there? You can exit this lease at any time?
In this particular circumstance, we have what is called early term rights.
Yes.
So we can terminate at any time.
Okay.
With a certain amount of notice and fees.
So does the existing tower provide sufficient coverage for AT&T right now?
It is sufficient coverage for the technologies that are on it today. The enhancements occur when we get that extra 50 feet, and we can extend beyond certain boundaries and into other counties and support other systems and programs like that.
Does AT&T have a national directive in place, no more tower modifications because of too much money? Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm not sure, just something I heard and wondered about.
Is it specific to a company or just nationwide, no mods?
I don't know. I don't have any further information. No, you can ignore that one.
I can answer that offline if you get more.
Okay, great. And so the increase in rent is the primary motivation for this desire to move to the new tower, as well as the...
I mean, when you look at the life cycle of a tower and how often we need to change our technologies to keep up with capacity needs and coverage needs and new programs to our customers, we need to be able to have flexibility to swap out that equipment, be it, coax cables or radios or antennas. And with our current MLA, every time we touch that tower, every time we need to do anything to it, it is an increase in our rent. So if we did, extend the tower, I'm afraid to even know how much that would cost. So with the relationship we have with Tillman, we get real estate rights. We get a pocket, on the tower where we can swap out, for the life of our lease without paying those extra fees.
Okay.
And that it really, in the long term, is more sustainable.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the trip.
Okay. It's time to make a decision. John, I believe you can look out the front door and see this tower, can't you?
Yes, sir. I have one concern and one concern only. That the residents on McCune Road had not gotten any notification on this. I would ask the board to consider tabling this till next month so I can speak to the citizens on the road face to face.
Okay.
And I would be willing to make a motion at that point next month.
Okay. Lynn, how do you feel?
I would be fine with tabling it until next month. Right now, I don't know, because I think there's some good points to be made. My big concern is if we approve this request, we are going to open the door for other redundant applications. And do we want to have this throughout the county? How many cell towers do we have?
How many is that now?
I think it's 8.
We're going to.
And I recognize the opportunity with the new tower for maybe some additional technology, but are we certain about what kind of improved service subscribers will see, and if no cost savings are being passed along? Are we certain enough?
Mr. Rourke has asked that we delay this for another month. So
Chairman,
I'd
I'd like to freely speak for a minute.
Go right on.
So, that's a tough one. So, Ms. Vivian Giles, I'm glad you're here tonight. So I don't know if I got a conflict or an ethics question to you. So I got a younger brother who has disabilities, and I'm very blessed to have a sister, older sister, and older brother who takes care of him somewhat. And he owns the land that the other tower could go up in Burkeville. If I vote for this, I could be setting precedents. I need your advice. You don't have to give it now, but if we could have a conversation about that before next month. Okay.
Okay. We're going to delay this until next month, and then you can talk to your people and get them straight.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Prosize.
Next thing on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, is the RRMM Animal Shelter Report. Ms. Shackleton, I believe, has some information for you.
Yes. We've been advised that the first draft of the program report is ready. We've been trying to schedule a meeting with the architect, so we hope to have that soon. I can report that the CARES Committee has been very actively gathering information on funding opportunities and grants. So we're progressing slowly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for Mrs.?
No, thank you, Ms. Shackleton.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we do need we have a vacancy on the Industrial Development Authority with the resignation of Bill Wilkerson. I don't know if anybody's had time to.
I do, yes.
Okay, did you have a question on?
No, I was just pointing, no, I was just saying I know she's got.
Okay.
I do have an appointee to appoint tonight. I would like to appoint Jackie Green August. Her address is 5963 Namazine Road, Prue, Virginia, 23930.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we appoint Mrs. August to the IDA. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, we have advertised and received submissions for the rebranding of the county website. You all asked us to put a little hold on that until we got through most of the budget deliberations, and we do need to go ahead and schedule interviews with the selected rebranding companies, the companies that you all want to talk with. So we need to come up with a time when we can have you all interview them.
Okay. We have two companies, right?
That's what you've
Agreed
told
on,
us,
yes.
that's how many you want to interview. Yes, sir.
When would be a good time for all of us to interview?
I'll work to y'all's schedule.
Yeah,
I don't know, I mean, whatever. Come up with, I'll try to work with it.
I'll get with you and we'll set a
Yes,
date.
sir. Okay, and we can call the two companies and see times that they would be available too,
Right.
if you'd like. Okay?
Because we have one or two things that we have to set dates for.
Yes, sir. That's
Other than that.
correct.
Okay.
In your package, you have the after-action report. I hope you've had time to review the ice storms after-action review produced by Lee Williams of the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. You all know that Mr. Williams is a Nottaway native and well-known here, and is the former Chesterfield County Assistant Fire Chief, and he led us in the EOC during much of the ice storm, and he produced the report that you have in your package. The after-action report he produced gives, in my opinion, an excellent summary of what was done and what needs to be done in the future to improve our response to a large-scale emergency situation. Now, we've been offered to have an after-action report expanded with an implementation schedule for the actions that need to be improved. Now, that proposal is also in your package, and it was sent by Donna Pletch of the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. Many of you all met her. If the board thinks that it is necessary to involve this company, if you let me know, I will make sure that it's done.
In my opinion, Mr. Williams did a tremendous job with this after-action report. I would like to have a workshop to go over this report.
Ms. Shackleton has something.
Steve, you gonna take his temperature up?
Wait, Ms. Shackleton.
I was just going to make remarks in agreement with what you just said. I think this was an excellent report, and I don't see the need to require another one, but I do think the board should review it and provide a response or develop a plan. And I don't know if that's more appropriately done after the hiring of an emergency operations coordinator.
I think that's one of the things that we had indicated that the emergency operations coordinator would be doing.
Right.
But this report gives you all the items that need to be addressed. So it's still going to be your responsibility to approve the EOP, but certainly that's something that would help the new emergency coordinator become more involved in what the county needs.
Once it comes on, I think we need a workshop to go through this.
Okay.
But you know, going back what's saying here, Mr. Vaughn, if you don't mind, that like when I'm looking at it, if we're looking at the same thing, the stuff in red is really our grocery list, stuff we need to get done.
Right.
And one of them is the EOC is very limited in size and technology. All right, so we know that. Okay. So do we have to wait for him to rectify that? That's, or he or her, whatever. You know, so I don't have the answer for that question, but
Well,
I'm always willing for suggestions.
Well,
Right.
that's what Ms. Pletch is saying that the second company would come in to do, which would be to prioritize what needs to be done first, second, third, and so forth. But it still comes down to how much money each of those improvements are going to cost, and then that brings it right back to you all.
Well, Mr. Vaughn, you were speaking about scheduling on the work session. I think if we can add this to the next closest work session and discuss those priorities themselves, maybe that'll give us a little bit more clarification as to which direction to go.
Right. Would that be okay?
That's fine.
Ms. Shackle, would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Well, I'll get with you and we'll set up a
Yes, sir.
a date on
Okay.
that.
Under new business, we have a landfill billing proposal. Our office has been trying to improve on many of the procedures these last few months, as y'all know. Monthly landfill billing has been a tedious, time-consuming, and often inefficient process. Logan Presley of our office, who handles that job for the county, is here to describe to you a solution that may provide a more efficient method of billing. Now, the information is in your package about the proposal, but Ms. Presley is here and she's going to be able to go over what, how this might benefit the county.
Thank you, Logan.
Welcome to the pit.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off kind of giving you an overview of what I do to get the bills kind of sent out on a monthly basis. I usually, at the first of each month, get a stack of whatever bills or tickets was done at the landfill. It ranges in size. A lot of the times, it's really, really thick and a lot. Last month, for March, we have a total of 494 tickets that I have to individually go through, organize to like customers or like companies, and then I have to go back in and make sure all the totals for their net weights are correct before I can even put them in the computer. Now, that's a lot of process. That takes more than a day to do because it is so many people to be done through. Once I do that, then if there's any new customers that haven't been to the landfill or somebody that doesn't match what we've already have in the system, I have to go in and type all their information up on top of just putting in what their fees are, what the code is for that fee and everything like that. Once I do that, I have to print them, put them in envelopes, send them out. I have to check whether they've paid previously, haven't been paying, and stuff like that. So it's a long process, and sometimes the whole process takes up to a week, possibly a week and a half, depending on what the size is, what I come across, and stuff like that. This new program that I have looked into, I've looked into a different number of programs. A lot of them was an ID scanner, and that was because some of the problems that I was coming into trying to do the monthly invoices were we either didn't have the right address for that certain person, so once I send it out, we get a kickback to us. And then I don't have a way to catch them and, send them out again unless we either look into it to find something else and find their information, or, we're just waiting until they come again. So that is a lengthy process in itself. This program that I found on top of another one, the other one doesn't have the extensive process that this one covers. This one, the SMS Turbo, it actually will scan people's IDs once they come into the landfill, and it will automatically fill out the whole thing for us. So like if one of y'all came to the landfill, we can scan your ID, it'll put your name, your address, however much information we need from that ID in the system, and we can also modify how much that is. Once that is done, if they come in again, and we know who you are, like reoccurring businesses like Edmonds Waste or Nottaway Correctional Center or stuff like that, we can type in your name so we don't have to use your ID each time. But that also comes into effect if you know your person. After that, it also records the time, date, stamp, starting weight, and the net weight, and the total of the differences when you bring something in. We can also set up different codes in the system ahead of time, so like we have different prices for tires or just waste or stuff like that. So we can have a code where they can just hit the code and it automatically applies the total. So once you leave there, you'll know how much you'll be getting charged for that specific load. This system also keeps track of everybody that's coming in for the month, and I can either do a specific time range or whatever I need to get that, which usually is once a month. And it makes sure that if you've been in multiple times, it like, brings everything together. So I don't have to go through and find if you've been 5 times a month, 10 times a month. It's all on one sheet. And I pretty much just take the exported stuff to my computer, and then I can go in, make sure everything's fine, and if everything looks good, there's nothing, you know, abnormal about it, I can print it, stuff it, send it out. So instead of looking at like a week, possibly a week and a half, it'll be probably maybe 2-3 days max of the whole process. It cuts down on a lot of the error where if you're writing a person's name, if you accidentally misspell it, or it also cuts down on if you haven't been paying landfill bills, we can also set a cap in there, so it kind of, you know, notifies us that, hey, you haven't been paying, you're reaching your limit, we need, you know, either payment or something to decrease this problem. So that's kind of the gist. I do have a video where we did a demo to see how this process works. I do have that, and I can send it to each of y'all if y'all would like. It's very quick, and it shows you step by step of the whole process.
Okay. How much will this cost?
There is 2 different things that you can do. You can either do a monthly/quarterly payment, which is $4,773.60. That's with a 10% discount for doing it that way. Or you can do a perpetual license agreement or purchase where it's $13,120. That does come with a 1-year maintenance and update agreement included in it. After that, then you would have to purchase any updates or maintenance agreements from that, and that's based off at that time's rate. So I can't really, I know the one that they're putting in there now is like $1,510 for the maintenance for that.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, for clarification, she said $4,773. That's for the whole year, correct?
No. That's cool. That is.
It's a deposit required
Check.
for the annual payment option.
Yeah, deposit required for quarterly payment option was $13.26. The deposit required for annual payment option reflects the 10%.
Yes, sorry, the deposit was $1,326. The overall is $4,773.60. That's with the 10%. But if you actually, if you do the quarterly or monthly, then you have to sign on for 36 months. So in actuality, once you've done that with the 10%, you're paying $14,320.80. So if you purchase it one time, you're kind of coming out ahead as far as the agreement wise, and you know, but that's based on what y'all want to do.
I feel like we need to get it.
Yeah, it's a great option, and
question about that.
it falls right in what you were talking about the budget, Steve. IT upgrades, man.
Right.
Now's the time to do it.
Yep.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Y'all going with the 13,100?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's removed.
Whoa.
Moved in second.
Wait a minute.
What?
Do we need to do an RFP? Let's make sure. Are we all right on this?
What are you talking about, John?
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Procedure, procurement.
This is a sole proprietor of their equipment, their system, their software. I would think, you need to get other prices. There you go.
Got to get other prices. Okay. Put out the RFP?
All right.
I withdraw my second.
It's not an RFP, it's just on competitive pricing.
Okay, I withdraw my second.
You withdraw it?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep.
And I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Your motion, you can approve, the price, you can approve the acquisition, for moving forward with the acquisition,
All right.
subject to procurement.
If Ms. Simmons, you want to amend your motion to that,
I can amend my motion, yes.
then I'll reinstate my second to her amended motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we get this program for Ms. Presley. Those in favor? Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, on the Cox,
The Cox Road water line is the next item on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, and you instructed our office to gather information concerning the request from the town of Blackstone and citizens of Cox Road. And you've got some information to pass along there, sir.
Yeah, I have a statement I want to make concerning that. There are approximately 34 families that live on Cox Road. The Nottaway County Board of Supervisors has been contacted by persons wishing to have the water lines extended along Cox Road, which is U.S. Highway 460 business, from the Blackstone town limits. Nottaway County does not have a water supply or have water lines anywhere in the county. If Cox Road were to be served with municipal water, it would be through the town of Blackstone. The town of Blackstone would supply the water and bill all residents on Cox Road monthly. Because the water lines being proposed for Cox Road lie in the county, the town of Blackstone is requesting that Nottaway County mandate water hookups to each resident and business. Mandatory hookup is a requirement in order to amortize the expense of installing the water lines along Cox Road. The Nottaway County Board of Supervisors need your input to determine if you want the municipal water lines from the town of Blackstone. Should the line be installed as a resident of Cox Road, you will be required to pay a monthly fee whether you hook up to the line or continue to use your existing well. And we're sending out a questionnaire, a survey. Please take the time to respond to this request for information. We are going to provide a stamped, self-addressed envelope so that you will not incur any expense. And please know that your input is important and will also be important to your neighbors along Cox Road. Thank you for your cooperation. We're going to send this letter to the residents of Cox Road. At the last time we did this, we met with them in a group meeting, but because of the virus, we can't meet with them like we would love to. So we're going to, this is a list, I have a list of the people on that road, and this survey will be sent to them very soon. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, may I, on that same issue there, just something for the board to consider. I hereby make a motion to schedule a public meeting for the public to discuss mandatory connections on Cox Road north of the town of Blackstone. The addresses will be identified on that stretch of road prior to the public meeting, with proper notice served to affected properties prior to the property meetings. Prior to the public meeting. Furthermore, during this time, this is to be done in conjunction with the Planning Commission to identify any and all zoning ordinances that may require the Board of Supervisors to hold a public hearing as required. Planning Commission and/or Administration Office will help to identify all provisions that may or will be required to satisfy all proper legal requirements moving forward.
I represent that district, Mr. And I would love to do the survey along with the town of Blackstone. I have been working with them over a period of time with this.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just seconding his motion, so we can't have discussion, okay? So I want to say that. Because we should second it. I'm not saying I agree with it.
It's motion, he made a motion.
Right, and I'm second, so continue, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Mr. Chairman, the only concern about this survey was, it's just a lot of times people look at mail and throw it away if it looks like junk mail.
There are things you don't know, Mr. Rourke, concerning this. Some years ago, we had a grant to do this project, and there were people on that road who said that they didn't want to pay a water bill to the town of Blackstone. So we had to withdraw the motion. That's what we did at that point. We had already gotten the grant to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I would like to I would like, this is discussion for us, Mr. Miller, it's not for you. I would like to, at this point, and I'm gonna let let him make the motion, but I represent that district, he does not. And I will be the one who will be working with these people in trying to get water to that area. I'm going to, once I get the survey back and fill that out, then I will know, I will make personal visits to these people.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, sir, I don't want a little Flint, Michigan in Nottaway County. This has been going on for 15 years.
It's been going on longer than that. I cannot force people, and I'm not going to try to force people to do what they don't want to do. So we'll see.
All right, so I'll withdraw my second motion then, since I heard that discussion, and you feel like you represent them.
Okay, you withdraw your second.
Okay.
The motion will die then.
Mr. Chairman, in your package, you have Finance Director Katie Thomas supplied you with a breakdown on the overtime required by the historic ice storm last February. This itemization shows you how comprehensive and complicated the county's EOC response was during those 2+ weeks in February. Once again, I'd like to thank all those people again who went above and beyond the regular job duties. And we never heard a single complaint from any of those employees that are on that list. But we do need you all to act on the list.
Katie? Will you, on this report, on the ice compensation?
Everything is there. It's all encompassing of what was the hours, the total, what it's gonna cost in new appropriation to pay, and that's $21,000.
Okay.
I mean, we've worked out, you know, all the legal kinks, we made sure we've done everything the right way, but we need to get these people paid.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to compensate the people who worked during the ice storm. I need a motion and a second.
I move that we compensate the people that worked during the ice storm for what's the total? $21,392.73. Is that right?
How much is it?
When you make the motion, you need to appropriate the money.
We need to appropriate $21,392.73 for the compensation for the people that worked, the employees that worked during the ice storm.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we compensate the people who worked during the ice storm to the tune of $21,392.72.
73 cents.
73 cents. Question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify for the public, this was just for overtime, correct?
Yes, this is overtime.
No.
Yes,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
overtime.
Overtime?
Yes,
Okay,
overtime.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, and a little further clarification, I think, Mr. John Rourke, I think the reason why, this is an apology to we haven't paid the staff yet, and so this is an apology to the staff, because I know they want their money just like they did the job, they need the money, but we had to make sure the person, that they were an exempt employee, we had to make sure that, you know, Monday was a holiday, you got to work over 40 hours to get paid, you know, so all that legalities had to come into place. I just wanted that, I agree totally with the money, I'm just letting the staff and the people who worked, it's not because we didn't value what you did, it's just we had to make sure we were legal. Okay, so anyway.
I do want to add this, and maybe I shouldn't, and I'm sorry.
Bring it on.
Cross the line, please say so, but, you know, the employees don't really have a voice all the time.
Right.
I just want to make it clear for all of them that worked these hours, they did it not knowing they were going to get paid. They did it because that's what we needed to do.
Amen.
So,
Good point. Good point. Yeah, that's right. Good point. Yeah, I'm glad you broke in. Okay.
Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Okay.
Mr.
County
Chair-
Administrative Search, Mr. Rourke, Mr.
I think Ms. Shackleton is going to make comments on that, Mr. Chairman.
We-
Secretary.
Yeah, we received 16 resumes in response to the employment ad for the county administrator position. The board needs to schedule a closed session meeting to discuss, and probably sooner rather than later for this particular situation.
Yeah, we need to move on that. We need to schedule a
To
time.
schedule
We
it
need to
soon.
move on this, you know,
Okay.
so.
Mr. Procyse, will you set a date?
I will get in touch with all of you all to
And then we'll
find
have to
a
advertise.
mutually convenient time.
Yes.
I'll be in contact with you real
Do it
soon.
as quickly as possible.
Okay.
It's got to be 15 days, correct? 15.
Okay. Constitutional law officers.
Wait a minute.
Hold on for a minute. It's not midnight yet, bro. We gotta get, so let me get something straight. So we got two, let me get this straight. This is for the county administrator. And what was the other time we're gonna call him, John's gonna meet?
We have to, the rebranding interviews
Rebranding,
have
okay.
to be
Rebranding,
done.
I got you. So-
And it may be an animal control officer may need
Okay.
interviews.
But,
Also, the employee benefit
That's right.
brokers that responded
Okay.
to the RFP.
all right, but the county administrator, can we agree that's priority one? Okay, all right, okay, that's priority one. I just wanna make sure we know that the clock is against us here.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Set up a date.
Yes, sir. Okay.
We'll work that out. Because we have to advertise. Okay, constitutional officers. Sheriff? Ms. Maya, I don't see her. And Ms. Hudson, I don't see Ms. Hudson. Ms. Walters?
Just really quickly, wanted to update the board. We have now had our first jury trial with COVID. The television worked great. We're using all 3 courtrooms, unfortunately, so it's quite the task, but the sheriff's office did really great helping coordinate, so I just want to let the board know that that new piece of equipment is working well, and we are moved on to finally being able to do juries again.
Leanne, I got a legal question for you, if you don't mind.
I may or may not be.
No. So I guess it's not, so I keep hearing people saying I'm being investigated and, you know, lawsuits are against me, but yet nobody has talked to me. When do I start knowing that I'm being investigated? When did I start knowing that? I keep hearing I should know this, but I haven't had a state policeman put a flashlight in my face and say, let me talk to you. When does that happen? I can't.
In different investigations, that happens at different points in time.
Okay, so just be patient, I guess. Is it possible that nobody, if they don't find anything, I won't hear anything? Is that possible?
That's probably something that I cannot answer.
Okay.
Because if there was anything with the board, I would have to.
All right, I was sure somebody asked me the question, you know. I said, if I'm being investigated, I want to know, Mr. Bond.
I know you do.
I would
Okay.
want to know too.
All of us want to know.
Yep, all of us
Yeah,
want to know
yeah.
that.
I don't want to wait till the handcuffs go on. That's right. That's a good point. All right, thank you, Ms. Walters. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I got something she may can clarify. Did y'all have a case over at Circuit Court that was moved to Dinwiddie because the lady could not enter the courthouse steps?
Not on the criminal docket, and I'm not familiar with the civil docket. So if there was such a case, you might want to talk to Ms. Brown about that because it was not a criminal case.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking that, because I know in our RFP that we had put to have rails out here, but I don't remember the Circuit Court having any rails considered to be put on there.
So generally speaking, if we have had folks in wheelchairs and things like that, there is an elevator. The sheriff has a key to it, and I have a key to it for security reasons, for people not being able to sneak in the back door of the circuit courtroom.
Okay.
So we have had folks that have needed to use the elevator in the past, and we make sure they get up there. It just requires coordination between the offices.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Rourke, we had expected to use that as a change order to add that.
Okay.
I mean, we know about it. It wasn't on the original, but we were going to address that when we got a bid, which.
Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Consent calendar. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve consent calendar.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, you have some information items in your package. If there are no questions, we'll move on to the county administrator's portion. The first item is the Virginia Tobacco Commission revenue sharing for the Blackstone project. As you all will remember, you board members will remember, I alerted you more than a year ago to the fact that the future grants from the Tobacco Commission will require some form of revenue sharing from the grantee to the Tobacco Commission. The town of Blackstone has applied for and received approval for a grant application from the Tobacco Commission, and the Tobacco Commission wants a portion of the tax revenue produced as a result of that grant. Tax revenue generated by this project will affect the town and the county. Now, we don't have any set policy on how to handle this situation, especially a project where the county has not been a party to the grant request. The question is, does the county wish to contribute a portion of the 5% annual net local tax revenue as required by the Tobacco Commission for Blackstone's grant? You have in your package the letter that explains what they're asking you.
I think we should participate with Blackstone on that.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get part of the revenue, so what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, do you want us to talk with the town of Blackstone, town manager Van Norbeck, and come up with some options that you might have?
Yes.
Would you like to do that?
That would be good. Yes.
Okay. In your package, the next item is the DEQ letter. It's a report from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. Back in January, a new inspector visited our landfill and was unusually detail-oriented compared to previous inspectors. There are three main problems he observed, and they're listed in the report that's in your package, number 1, 3, and 6. I want to explain what the situation is and what we've done about it. The first is blown litter. This is a result of not having the work center inmates to work as a result of the pandemic. I did write a letter to Warden Davis and has since received a phone call from the Nottaway Correctional Center captain, and the indication is the work crew will be out sometimes in May to resume helping the county and picking up that blown litter as they did before the pandemic. The item number 3 in their letter was cover material. This inspection was done after a prolonged period of rain, and our landfill supervisor simply could not find any dry soil to be used as a stockpile for cover. It was all mud. And this has since been rectified as the soil has dried out, so that's taken care of. Item number 6 was a leachate pond, and this was a result of the third highest year of rainfall on record. And remember, this inspection was back in January. Hopefully a county-owned leachate truck will assist in keeping the level acceptable. And right now, the leachate pond is back to acceptable levels. I put on your desk something that just came in. Our engineering firm, Draper Aden, is responding to DEQ with the answers to this letter. And you have some pictures that we've provided for you to show that many of the items that they've listed have been taken care of. There's really nothing for you to take action on other than you need to know what's going on with that DEQ letter.
We'll read Draper Aden's report later on.
Yes.
Okay, Sheriff Jones made a request.
Sheriff Jones is a request to carry over savings due to the staff changes. That letter is in your package.
I move to approve the request of the sheriff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Sheriff Jones' request. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is the distribution of vehicle license fees for fiscal year 21. We'll need a motion for that. It's in your package for approval, and you see that the percentages are Burkeville Rescue Squad 5%, Nottaway County Rescue Squad 20%, Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department, Burkeville, and Crew Volunteer Fire Department, all at 25%.
Okay. Need a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we distribute this money according to the way it's been done, the license fees. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, you know that we sent out a courthouse complex repair bid for work to be done before the courthouse complex buildings are painted. We did not get a single response to the bid request. So now, what would you have us do? Do you want us to re-advertise now? Do you want us to wait a while? Or do you want us to try to seek some other method to get the work done?
What's your pleasure?
They didn't seek bids. He's done everything possibly that he can do. I say let's go and get the work done. Right? I mean, am I missing something here?
I would agree.
What was the low bid?
We didn't have any bids. None.
Well, how are we going to get the work done if we ain't got no bids?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think there may be an option that you can negotiate with someone to do the work, but I've got to look into that. I don't know.
You want to re-advertise?
Well, I'm not sure that.
You reckon that would help?
We just advertised and we.
Do I?
What's that? No, we put an ad in the paper with the scope of work.
What you want? You want to wait a while, or the work needs to be done?
Well, Mr. Chairman, ask make sure we write with legal. Can we ask the lawyer for advice on this one?
Yes,
because I think we need to do an RFP, don't we?
Right.
Because you adopted the state procurement,
You're right.
I think it's $100,000, or they may have upped it even beyond that. My guess is that this, I don't know the scope of the work, but I'm guessing it wouldn't be that much.
No.
So that being the case, you may reach out and try to get bids, so as long as you go through a competitive process, but because you adopted the state levels, the state numbers, the state template for procurement, you don't have to have the RFP with submissions and the thick paper. And as a matter of fact, that's a reason for not doing that, is because it deters a lot of small businesses. They don't have the resources to respond to RFPs. So you can reach out to businesses that might be interested, and as long as you get a sufficient number of bids, and it can be a single page, it can be whatever, then you could proceed under that.
Well, I'd be okay if Mr. Procyse reached out to 5 to 10 local contractors.
I would suggest Mr. Lewis, the building inspector. He knows who's capable of doing the work.
Properly licensed,
and
correct.
And he also developed the scope of work.
Okay.
So if it's all the same to you, we'll ask Mr. Lewis if he will reach out to qualified contractors who can do the work and try to obtain the bids.
Okay. Is that okay, Steve? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. The international roll-off truck bid, we did get one bid for the truck, $2,850. I talked over with Landfill Supervisor Gary Easter, and he said that he thought that that was an acceptable offer in his opinion. That's the only offer we got.
Okay. Need a motion to deal with that?
That's the second time you've advertised, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'd take the offer.
You gonna move on that, Mr.?
Putting that in a motion.
I need a motion.
Oh, okay. I'd make a motion to accept the offer for the 1998 International Roll-Off Truck.
Get a second?
Second.
You second?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Question. It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. We have received the offer of $2,850.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have in your package a letter from the library about some surplus equipment. And usually you do either one of two things. You either put an ad in the paper to dispose of it as a whole, or you simply dispose of the items in the landfill if you don't think you're going to get enough money to cover the ad.
There's something else too. We used to have an auction years ago.
Yes, sir. We used to be able to combine different items for that, though, and I'm not sure, you know, whether or not this few number of items we could store the items if you wanted to until we accumulate enough to have an auction. We could do that if you like.
Mr. Chairman, you know, this is the way I feel about it. You got a librarian who says we need to purge because we accumulate a number of broken and or obsolete items. Yeah. Nobody's going to buy that junk. I met a guy the other day, he don't even know what a fax machine is. He ain't never heard of it. Well, that's something that we don't even do. People,
we can just put it in the landfill. I was just trying to...
Yeah, we just wasted time and money. I think we need to go ahead.
Let's get rid of it. Just.
Okay. I need a motion to...
I think I heard
put
one.
it in landfill. You made the motion?
I'll make them.
Second.
Okay.
Put it in landfill, yes.
It's been moved and second. Question? Those in favor, let it be known by usual sign. Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, we have sent out, we have advertised in the Richmond Times-Dispatch for employee benefit brokerage and consultant services. That deadline date is the end of this month, April 30th. We'll have, hopefully we'll have multiple submissions for that to bring to you as soon as the deadline period is over. The next item is the bowling center fire protection. Our office was notified that Mr. Brame, who takes care of our some security fire protection equipment at the bowling alley, has said that the automatic notification through the telephones is no longer operating. He is suggesting to install a cellular communicator so that the county's bowling center can be protected, and we need your motion to approve. We need to do this right away.
Okay.
Please, and Ms. Toma can certainly give you more information.
Okay, Lynn, did you?
The main reason for this is Mr. Carmichael was trying to eliminate expenses. And he called in to terminate the services, the monitoring services. They reached out to me to say, hey, it's probably not a good idea, and I agree, it's not. It's the county's building, we need to make sure that it's not.
Right, so...
No, I understand.
Sell it?
Yeah, I understand
So,
what you're saying.
Katie, so Mr. Carmichael, we haven't worked that out yet either. So am I right to say, because I was going by the other night after our meeting, and the lights, they got parking lot lights, so he can't open the bowling alley because we don't have a lease, but yet he's paying the electric bill and the AC, all that? Man, y'all, we better be making a move, or it's going to be a dark spot out there.
That's what I'm saying. Sell it or do a lease or something.
Okay.
Need to do a lease.
Would you pay for a building and pay electricity? You couldn't open it up, Sean? I'm just asking. I wouldn't.
Yeah, we need to do a lease.
We need to move on the lease.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that he's cutting, I mean, he's saying, well, you know.
Mr. Chairman, one of the issues is the building, all of Pickett Park is under the ownership of the Fort Pickett Local Redevelopment Authority. And the question has been, you all, I realize the Board of Supervisors has been who has been the authority, but there was a question that needed to be examined about whether or not that authority needed to be reconfigured or whatever. And county attorney has looked into that, and I would appreciate it if she could get up and maybe give you a little bit more information about the situation we're in with not only the bowling alley, but all the properties at Pickett Park.
Okay.
I hope it's good news.
I don't know.
So I did go out to the LRA office and undertake the research that Mr. Procyse is talking about. So my recommendation to you is going to be, and I didn't have it in time for tonight's meeting, but you do have another meeting next week, I think, your budget public hearing, to adjourn that meeting and then have an LRA meeting, because it is in fact a separate board. And that board does not require, at this point, my information is that it doesn't, but I want to confirm it. But unlike counties, which require public hearings to enter into leases or sales of real property, the LRA board, everything I'm seeing so far, does not require that. So my recommendation will be for you to have an LRA meeting immediately following your budget public hearing next week, to attend to that lease matter, because I do know that it is an urgent matter. But the legal structure was critical to ensure that that was correct. And I didn't want you to have to lease a property without a public hearing if that was a legal requirement.
So quick question, so can this same board be the LRA authority as well? We just got a different hat on at that time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
What's the legal advertisement notice on that for the public?
To my knowledge, and this is where it's not entirely clear, because when the LRA was constituted back in the 90s, there were two avenues, and actually the county had correspondence with the governor's office about this and the Department of Defense to confirm your legal status. But at the time, it was very unique. There was evidently a brief period of time where an LRA could be constituted by federal declaration, I'm going to say, or it was a brand new Virginia statute, and you could go that route. Well, Nottaway County did not go that route. It went the federal route. So the rules are not readily apparent, and that's why I want to confirm the rules. Had Nottaway County gone the state statute route, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's just, outlines just one after the next, and it tells you exactly how to accomplish what you need to accomplish. But Nottaway County didn't go that route. It went the federal route. So I want to make sure I'm right, but I'm not seeing, at this point, I'm not seeing that you have that public hearing requirement. And I didn't look any further in the state route, because that's not how Nottaway County constituted its LRA.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, we still need to have that building taken care of as far as fire protection, and we need to have this cellular communicator installed so that it can be connected to some type of communication device.
And that's perfectly fine, and what I'll probably recommend to you is when you do have your LRA meeting is just to ratify that action.
Wait, ratify that action, gotcha, because we haven't. All right, so let me just ask one more question here, Mr. Vaughn, so make sure we're right. After we develop the LRA, should we not reach out? I don't want the man now to turn the electricity off. It's in his name, right?
I'm communicating.
Okay, you can, okay, right.
And I told them, because it wasn't readily apparent from the paperwork, and it took a lot of digging in boxes at the LRA office to ensure that that I had in front of me the appropriate paperwork. But I did find it, and I did speak with another attorney today who was involved way back in the 90s. He did not promise me he could put his hands on those files, but we talked it through, and I read to him some of the documents, and and we're of the same conclusion about this status.
Man, can we scan our documents and upgrade them?
The question is whether or not we put this cellular communicator in.
Yes, sir. We need to do that. We can't take a chance.
I make a motion we do that, and
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have Mr. Brains to install a cellular communicator so that our bowling alley can be protected. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. So move on with that.
No, I mean, he jumped away from the question section too soon. I mean, do we need procurement on that? Is we going to list it as an emergency purchase?
Mr. Rourke, I would submit it's got to be an emergency purchase, because we've got to be able to protect that building. That's a county, an expensive county asset that we just can't take a chance on
I agree.
something
So
happening.
it should have been, the motion should have been made as an emergency. Okay.
What was the price? We don't have one.
Okay. We're at the end of our program.
Oh, we skipped the informational items.
That was the end of our program.
No, we no, we didn't.
That was the end of the
Now, but
entertainment.
this is our program.
I've never heard you call it
This is the
that.
end of our
Cheryl.
meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'll say it like you want me to say it. It's the end of our meeting. We're coming to the end.
We see the light.
This is Shackleton.
Nothing.
Any comments?
No, sir.
Mr. Rourke.
Mr. Chairman, didn't we skip over the informational items?
No.
I asked if there were any questions about any
Yeah,
of them,
we
Mr.
were not.
Rourke.
Mhm.
So is it something that,
Information
we
items.
need to talk about?
You was talking about section
So,
L.
he thought that we skipped over.
Oh.
Did I skip over?
No, you didn't.
Oh, well,
I think I did.
Well, yes, Mr., because I had something about the Southside Electric here, about Mr. Rash's, his letter to Southside Electric. And basically, all I was going to say was that Nottaway County needs some factual data to take into consideration, since 13 days was their norm for this massive ice storm. And we need that information to kind of gauge the shelter openings for our EOP. Also, I wanted to know, have building permits gone down since Southside Electric increased their meter fees like 3 to 5 years ago? The Planning Commission, I know, invited Southside Electric to a meeting, but Southside Electric asked the board, I believe, to come meet with them during the day, and most of the people couldn't make it, so the meeting never happened. Some of the concerns that I had was roughly the average is like $5,000 per pole, like $10,000 per hookup is what it costs to do a meter with Southside Electric. And it's easier to buy an acre of land in Nottaway County than it is to get hooked up to Southside Electric. Mm-hmm. And that's, and there was a few other concerns I had here. And in their bylaws now, it was quoted as saying, you must be educationally able to serve on their board. Listen to what I said. You must be educationally able to serve on their board. I think someone could absolutely equate that statement with Jim Crow laws. Their prices appear to discriminate against the poverty and low income stricken home owners in Nottaway County. And I don't know what we can do, but these are just some of the things that need to be looked at, need to be said. And just the last thing that I have here is the law firm of Sands Anderson was hired to guide and advise the board legally. Yet when the chairman made a procedural error tonight, she did not advise until I pointed it out. She is clearly biased of me, and she clearly is not performing her duty. I made an incorrect motion a little while ago. I'm going to make the motion to remove Sands Anderson's law firm as county legal firm.
That's your motion?
Yes, sir. Speaking to the motion, sir.
That's for lack of a second. Okay.
I wasn't finished, Mr. Vaughn.
Okay, go right on.
I'd like to make a motion for RFP for legal services with a specialty in county law.
Is that part of your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your motion has died for lack of a second.
Mr. Chairman, if I might could address some of the things that Mr. Rourke said. He's right that the Planning Commission, and Mr. Bowen was on the Planning Commission, we were very concerned about the price of a new installation, a new rural installation. And we went so far as to investigate other local cooperatives,
right.
as well as Dominion Power, and we had a problem with that, so we asked representatives from Southside Electric to come to the Planning Commission and just simply explain. We weren't putting them on the spot, but just to explain what the difference in price was. And they would not come to the Planning Commission. Now, you all had asked me to have Mr. Linhart of Southside Electric to come. He couldn't come tonight because he had a previous board meeting to go to, but he will be asked, unless you all say otherwise, to come to the May meeting.
Right.
And at that time, you can ask, I'm sure you'll be able to ask whatever questions you want.
Yeah, just give you an example. There was one of the Planning Commission members over on 723. He had to pay something like $16,000 to get electricity to his house.
Wow. That's cheap.
Yeah,
That's cheap.
right.
Think about the 50 jobs being held up. That's $460,000.
We have had complaints about prominent developers in the county who have complained about the difference between new installations with that cooperative. Right. And it does make a big difference to someone who's building a house.
Yes.
It's going to be real interesting at their annual meeting this year, I can assure you. Mr. Bowen.
Oh, so, Mr. Roy, you finished in it? You were going to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, got
Thank
you.
you.
I might have missed it. Did we do a resolution, and I know that's in your district, John, that's why I'm asking. Did we do a resolution thanking the family of Mac Dews for his community service? Did we have a...
I sent a letter to...
Did you?
I
Okay,
sent a letter
okay.
to Ms. Dews.
Okay.
If you want a resolution, I'll write one for you for the next meeting.
Yeah.
But I did send a letter from our office telling her how much we appreciated his service to the county.
Right, yeah.
Do you
I would
want
like
to do
to...
the same thing for Max Dews, send a letter to his wife?
Yeah, so I would like for us to do a resolution and then maybe
then
get John
send it
to
to
write
him.
that up. You
Okay.
sign it.
We have that for the May meeting.
A lot of community service. I mean, ball game. I mean, Dixie U. I mean, he just always gave and did a lot for the community. And another comment that Mr. John Rourke had made. As long as I'm on this board, I'm gonna have a lawyer. Okay, you dragging my name through the mud, I'm gonna have a lawyer. Can I get an amen, Lynn Shackleton?
Amen.
Okay, we're gonna have a lawyer.
Yes.
Right. All right, that's all I got to say.
Well, we need to comment on some of the people from the delegation as well. It's been too much of that. Now, at the beginning, I said I wanted it to be civil, and to what I saw happen to Mr. Rourke, what I saw happen to Mr. Procise. I'm going to yield now. I'm going to let Ms. Simmons talk, and then I'll come back later. But this is not the way we do things in Nottaway County. Go right on, Ms. Simmons.
Well, my biggest concern is you have someone come from another county to tell you what to do in Nottaway County. I mean, I don't think it's funny, but you have someone else to come here and tell you, and you don't know who the person is, you know nothing about them, but to tell you who to hire, who to fire, whatever, who you're supposed to have in your county. And I don't think that's right. Because we have enough people here in Nottaway County that's telling us what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing. So we sure don't need anyone from another county to come here and tell us which direction to go in. We have work to do, yes, we have a lot of things to correct. But like Steve said, as long as I sat on this board, I'm gonna have a lawyer. I'm gonna have somebody that has my back.
Ms. Shackleton.
I just want to thank Vivian Giles for the guidance and expertise that she's brought to us. She's been very good. I really appreciate it.
Give you any guidance?
Mr. Vaughn, you're almost finished. We're doing our closing, man. Let's go.
Okay.
No, I haven't gotten any guidance from
Did
that,
you,
from that attorney,
Mr.
none
Rowe-
at all.
Mr. Rowe, don't interrupt anymore, please. Mrs. Shackleton has the floor. Ms. Shackleton, have you finished? Yes. Okay. It's the way we are trying to hurt people and tear people down. It's not the way that Nottaway does it. And this is being done, and it shouldn't be done. And it's got to stop. The people I talk to in Nottaway, and I talk to a lot of people, not only in Nottaway, I talk to a lot of people in Cumberland too, and I've talked to a lot of people in Cumberland over a period of years. I just don't think that we ought to just talk about people. I was in let me tell you how bad it was. I was in an executive session meeting. We were in an executive session, and one of the members of our board was so loud, calling a man a liar, that you could hear it not only in the JD courtroom, but you could hear it in this courtroom. And we don't need that kind of thing. We are civil people, and we ought to act that way.
Who did that?
I didn't call any names. I don't have to bear any blame. I'm saying it happened. I'm saying it happened.
Well, you said as a member of this board. I don't recall that happening.
Well, I do. I do.
I don't recall that happening. Who called somebody a liar?
Anyway, I'm not going to have a discussion with you, Mr.
Well, don't bring it up then.
Well, I bring up anything I want to bring up.
Well, so will I.
Yeah.
You act like you're the only elected
Well, you go
official
ahead.
here.
Well, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, don't bring it up then. You're going to sit here and make an accusation, clear it up. Because nobody, since I've been here, screamed in that back room and called somebody a liar.
The man came in from out of this room and said, I am not a liar.
You said it was a member of this board. Did it in closed session?
It wasn't a closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we adjourn.
We're going to close this meeting now.
Mr. Chairman, we do have the budget public hearing next Thursday. Do you want to adjourn until next Thursday?
We will. Yes, we will adjourn until next Thursday.
Go figure, guys.
And call the National Guard. Supervisor Ross, the People's Choice Awards.